We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky. And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
Today, we're going to review a book, most likely a romance. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should really do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hi!
Hi.
So today we are going to be talking about, drumroll please,
I'm not ready for a drum roll. Sorry, I did not have that queued up.
Sorry. We're going to talk about Actor Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. We're going to do a Talia Hibbert back-to-backer is what's happening, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But first, how are you?
So, I got my first shot of the vaccine yesterday. And before I tell you about how I'm doing of the COVID-19 vaccine, in case that is mildly unclear, before I tell you how I'm doing, I do want to acknowledge how privileged I am to have a job that allows me to get the vaccine, have the time and the internet and the car to drive myself to a vaccination site. So I fully recognize that this is not accessible to everyone, and for a variety of reasons, and I do feel a little guilty for being able to get the vaccine. So shout out to the Center for Disease Control and the California Public Health website, which does have resources for people who do not have transportation or the ability to get online to book their appointments. Book your appointments now so that we can all get vaccinated. All right. Did not mean to make a PSA for the Department of Public Health, but yay, Department of Public Health, they do absolutely have resources. So to swerve back to how I'm doing, my arm feels like if you've ever gotten a tetanus shot and your arm feels really leaden and heavy for several days after, that's where it's at. I keep wringing my hands to literally just get feeling back into my fingers. And I'm definitely running a low-grade fever. So if I'm super glazed over, enjoy that. For those who can't see me, I am super glazed over and I'm wearing my I Don't Feel Well sweater. I totally have the sweater that I wear. It's to make me feel better. It's not like now I put on the sweater and I feel even worse. No, I put on the sweater. I'm like, the sweater is this hug that's going to make me feel better. Basically, my body was like, we got homework. We got this RNA homework to do. Could you please lay down so we can do our homework really well? And so that's what it feels like. And I feel really run down because I feel like my body is doing a bunch of other stuff on the DL.
Which means when you get your second dose, it's going to be miserable. Are you emotionally prepared for that?
Possibly. Or it is preparing enough antibodies at this time, and then the second one will not be as hard. Either way, I'm still going to get the second vaccine dose.
Sure.
And if it means that it takes me out for a few days, then it takes me out for a few days.
True that. Absolutely truth that. Congratulations. You are an educator, so you fall within a tier system. I checked what my turn was yesterday and they're like, no, you're cute. We'll call you later. Goodbye. So, cool. Nice. I had a really stressful day at work yesterday. We changed a bunch of things and I wasn't emotionally prepared for change. And so I just did not adjust to the change. I rolled with the punches, but it was an internal battle the whole time. So, whatever. I'm also growing out my quarantine head shave, and it's in the weird middle ground phase, and but I'm really glad we've read Eve Brown, because now I know to call it duckling fluff, because that is exactly what it is. I have 18,000 cowlicks and they're all duckling fluff.
I think it's adorable. Both the
It's cute.
it is cute. I like it a lot.
Sure.
Thank
you.
So enjoy your duckling fluff, and yay, you have a name for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we jump in, since I've casually led us to Eve Brown?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Transitions. All right. So do you want me to do this 30-second trial, or do you want to try again?
I can try. Would you like? I don't want to take it away from you. I don't want it to be a segment in which I attempt the 30-second trial.
I feel no way one way or the other about it. So if you want to do it, go for it. If you would like me to do it, whatever. I'm happy to.
Well, sorry. Decisions are hard for me always, and right now in particular. Have you read it?
No, I haven't read it at all.
Okay, then you should do it, and I apologize in advance for all of the places you're going to stumble over bad sentence structure. All right, are you ready?
Excellent. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds goes on the clock. I will count you in.
Great.
3, 2, 1.
Eve's parents believe it's high time for her to pick a career and stick to it, so they push her out of the nest. Outraged and unaware of their ableism, she drives to the country, where she runs into a job and over her boss, Jacob. Feeling responsible for his broken arm, she stays despite his frosty first impression. What ensues is a journey of self-actualization, discovery, and romance between two people who have been marginalized and discounted their entire lives. First impressions are never everything. Oh, I had so much more time.
You did. You had quite a bit more time. I feel like
that was an excellent blurb, though. It really encompassed everything. Should anyone be able to understand it?
Because you were going so fast? Yes. Well, we'll go through it a little bit more thoroughly. I feel like while we discuss these questions for each other.
Absolutely. Last bit of information about Eve Brown is that it released on March 9th, 2021. Yes. Which is the week after we will have released this week before we have released this episode. So
that wasn't confusing at all.
No, we're recording it before the release date, but this episode will come out after the book's release date. So time is a flat circle.
Time is indeed a flat circle. Yes. If you have not pre-ordered this book and it did not arrive on your doorstep on March 9th, immediately buy this book. Immediately. Yeah. Right away. Yeah. Do not wait. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah. Support your local bookstore by ordering this book.
Absolutely, yes. So here's my first question for you about this. It has to do with the very beginning of the book, where Eve's parents cut her off and tell her that she has to hold down a job for a year. Eve has always had access to money. She's always had a fund available to her. And so her parents cut her off for 1 year and tell her that she has to hold down a job for a year and make it on her own before they will allow her access to her money again. What her parents don't acknowledge, and what Eve doesn't really have a term for at the beginning of the book, is that Eve is on the autism spectrum, and the way that her brain processes certain information isn't neurotypical, or neurotypical in the way that her parents are. And so here's the question. This is a long-winded arrival at the question. Do you think they did the right thing, even though they were being unintentionally ableist?
So the book also brings up the fact, or they touch on it briefly, that perhaps all the sisters are neurodiverse.
Well, we sort of know that Chloe is. That
Mhm.
because Chloe makes that I feel like it was clear to me that Chloe is comfortable
Yeah.
in the way that she's neurodivergent. So
Mhm.
we as readers already knew this. I don't know that Eve knew it necessarily.
Sure. Absolutely. Um, but I guess to the point that I'm trying to make is that it's not just Eve that is the special case. She is the special case in that she is still living from home and living off of her trust fund. Um, it didn't so this story didn't bother me because we don't have enough stories of, wealthy, affluential Black people. And so that I am never gonna be like, "This felt wrong, this was weird," because the world needs more of that truth in our storytelling as well. Um, but I think they did the right thing, in that often people who have a crutch, and I mean, and like an emotional, like this money crutch, not her neurodiversity, uh, that I've lost my train of thought. No, there, I've got it. Okay, that they need a push, and that's what this was meant to be, was a push. And I think she was going to they expected her to fail. That's the part that I didn't really like, is that they, I think, expected her to fail, or they backed down from their push very quickly, and that's just enabling. So they're enabling her continued cycle of, flightiness, should we say?
I see. I actually disagree. I
Okay.
think I think if they were really concerned about her, particularly considering that her sisters are also possibly on the autism spectrum, I think if they wanted to push her anywhere, it should have been maybe to evaluate her, or to have her self-evaluate herself, to that discovery that she goes through because Jacob points it out to her. And before I continue, I absolutely need to point out that I am not neurodivergent. So, however,
Same.
people self diagnose or get diagnosed, and whichever path they choose in that way is entirely for each person. So, it is really not for me to tell what would be fitting for Eve as a discovery. But it does feel, for me, it felt really lost and confused of her parents to, instead of ask her if she needs a different approach or if she needs a different way of looking at the world. Instead, they were like, based on our normalized
Mhm.
assumptions of the world, you're not doing well enough. Off you go.
Sure.
So that
Sure.
that didn't
It
feel great.
it is it is a, um, societal expectations. There are societal expectations, but her parents don't have any clue, I don't think, that any of their daughters are neurodivergent. I think this is they just think their family is their family, and that's all, because none of them have official diagnoses. So they wouldn't have that language, or that, they wouldn't know to look for that perspective.
True, and but I think that's sort of my issue, is that there's an implication that the the parents are really detached. And I was
Mhm.
hoping that somewhere in the 3 books, they would grow bigger hearts, if you will,
Mm.
that they would
Well,
become more attached. But
this is the book where they've had the most scenes anyway,
yes, this
and
is the
I
most
and
we've seen of the parents.
it's very apparent in this book that they are attached to each other
Yes.
more than they are attached to anyone else.
Yes, and so that, like, in terms of the, like, familial support structure and in terms of the choices that Eve's family makes, I found them to be really upsetting. And
Mm.
Talia Hibbard warns us, the trigger warnings on this book include ableism, and it starts
Mhm.
right at
Right from the
you
beginning.
should be a certain way
Yeah.
because that is how everybody else gets through the day. And so for them not
Mhm.
to acknowledge that she has a different way was really hard.
Right. Um, I think in the storytelling aspect of it, family being like the external conflict is like a safe cushion, because the next other available option is the world saying that, which I think can be very overbearing and could be extremely stressful for a character like Eve to deal with and manage. So in this story structure, it's like a cocoon of problematicness that she can work through in a safe environment.
I can see that being the case. Yeah.
Sure. My question? Time for
Yeah,
another one?
absolutely. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, great. I
Your
didn't want to.
turn.
If there's more to say, I didn't want to like chop off the story,
No,
the
no.
conversation. Okay. Um. So her family cuts her off. She goes for a drive in the country out of, I don't know, not anger, but like frustratedness, I guess. And she ends up at this B&B, and she applies for a job as their cook, as their chef. How important do you think it was for Eve to like leave her home setting and be thrust out into the world at large, quote unquote, but really it was just a quaint country setting without a lot of like small town vibes? And how important do you think that she landed in a B&B was to her development?
I have no idea is my answer to that because I've never run a B&B, and in fact, my
Mm,
assumption is that it's a lot more complicated than what
yeah.
Jacob and Eve make it sound like, because he was like,
Yes.
just like Mont, his best friend Mont, just goes, just take care of it when he takes Jacob to the hospital, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I would assume it's more than just take care of it, but maybe I'm wrong on that front. I do think that for the story to progress, for Eve to really change her worldview, she had to be in a place where she could wipe the slate clean, that there are no
Mm-hmm.
presupposed expectations of who she is and how she's going to behave. And if
Mm-hmm.
other people in her life aren't already assuming her failure, then she doesn't have to as well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
being in an environment that is completely brand new to her was important. Did it have to be a B&B and the country? No, but as we discover in the book, her superpower, if you will, the thing that
Mm-hmm.
she wants to do with her life is to care for people. And outside of a convalescence home, B&B is a perfect place, right, to provide
Yeah.
care, both emotional and physical, for people and to give them joy. And that is the thing that she found to be her calling. So I guess
Yeah.
circling back to, did it have to be a B&B? I guess yes, because otherwise what, right, it could have, I guess it could have been a
Yeah.
cupcake shop because that also
Right.
provides comfort, but without the nap though. You could take a nap at the B&B.
Right. And without the helping people in a fulfilling way.
I mean, she would,
You
yeah, she
fill
has,
them with cupcakes, but you you can't
yeah,
like take care of them.
yeah, so the
Mhm.
validation that she craves exists perfectly in a B&B
Right.
setting. So I take it back.
And I
She had to be in a B&B.
and I think a B&B is the right size. Like I think if it was like a full-on hotel with hundreds and hundreds of rooms, that is too impersonal, right? So, I feel like, yeah, the B&B felt like the right size for me, for her. Also, for 2 people to, like, clean all the rooms every day, a B&B had to be the right size. Ugh, hire people. That's what I got frustrated in the book. I'm like, "Jacob, just hire someone. I know you can't afford it, and this is a thing for a reason," but man, that frustrated me. It's too much. It's too much. Work-life balance, people.
Well, he
Yep.
doesn't have any. That's sort of
That's the
the
point.
point. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
point at the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah,
All right. So both Jacob, so Jacob, by the way, before we get too far, Jacob is the owner of the B&B, and
yeah.
early on he makes a snap judgment about um about Eve. He looks at
Mhm.
her and her purple hair and her funny t-shirt and decides immediately that she is not the right person to be the chef at his B&B.
She's not
Um
serious.
she's not serious about the job. So he says no to her when she walks in to apply for the job, and as she's driving away, she backs over him, and he falls and breaks his wrist. And then
Mhm.
trope alert,
Haha.
they are in forced proximity with each other because
Yep.
then she has to stay and take care of the B&B because he can't due to a broken arm.
Right,
And
and
a
he also
concussion.
couldn't cook yeah, and a concussion, but he also couldn't cook to save his life, and so his best friend Mont was doing the cooking begrudgingly for him.
Yes.
So
So
he was already in dire straits.
he was in dire straits. So Jacob and Eve are both very straightforward people without preamble, partially
Mhm.
because the cocoon of niceness is something that is societally applied to all language, and since they
Mm,
are
mhm.
both neurodivergent, they strip away that cocoon quite frequently. Did this work for you? Did their relationship, super straightforward, work for you, or did you need more fluff?
More fluff, more duck fluff. Um, it did because trope alert, they're also still very opposite. So, like, the Venn diagram of their personalities overlaps in neurodivergence and, uh, enjoying the B&B and helping people in that way, but the tone of their personalities was opposite. Like, he's very straight-laced, never a hair out of place, starched ironed shirts, etc. And she's like funny t-shirts, always has a joke, always singing, light and refreshing. And so I think that is a case where the two of them tempered each other in a healthy way. So I say yes.
I mean, I I am a straightforward person, and so
Same.
not having to
Well, yeah.
navigate through the well-meaning but not real commentary was amazing. It was like,
Mhm.
"Yes, this is what you mean. You mean that you're
Right.
angry or you mean that you're happy. Yes."
Yeah.
Please
We
and thank
never
you.
really see them interact with the B&B customers. So we never really get to see how Jacob's straightforwardness, affects customers. Like, they mentioned that he kind of, like, plays a part, I guess, is how I read into it, versus, like, how they mentioned that Eve just gets on with people really well. So I would have been interested to see that dynamic at work, but yeah, I enjoy. Uh So since both Eve and Jacob are neurodivergent on the autism spectrum, we get to see a little bit about how there are different it's a spectrum, right? There are different ways people um on the spectrum react to different sensory inputs. And so they each have different focus tactics. Eve is always listening to music. It just distracts her just enough so that she can focus on cooking or whatever the task at hand is. It takes the edge off for her. Jacob removes all distractions whatsoever. His office is a blank slate, no art, design, whatever. He sits with his back to the window. Um, in your personal life, in attempting to focus or get a task done, are you more of an Eve or are you more of a Jacob?
Um,
Personal question alert.
Personal question alert. So, I definitely have a deficit disorder. So for me, there are a lot of tactics, and I actually talk to my students a lot about this. I have a lot of different tactics to keep my brain on track because
Mhm.
my brain has two modes. Think of open every tab in the
Uh-huh.
in the Google Chrome of my brain, or open one tab and stay so focused on that tab that I literally forget that there is a world around me. And
Mm,
so neither one is productive in the normalized way. They are both productive just in terms of like how my brain works. So I have a bunch of ways that I get my brain places. I have notebooks all over the house and in the morning and at night. So when I allow my brain to just do its job however it wants to, I write notes to myself. And then the
Mm.
first thing I do in the morning is go around the house and pick up all my notes and assemble them into a to-do list. And
Cool.
then I make myself read through my to-do list and stick to my list
Mm.
until I allow like until I set the list down and allow myself to let my brain go and do whatever it needs to do. It has taken me many, many moons and many, many different approaches to figure out a way that works. There are times when
Mhm.
music as the background noise works really well for me. There are times when that music makes my brain go to those music places and out
Mhm.
of what I'm doing. And so I'll just sit on the floor listening to music without doing the thing I was supposed to be doing with the music on. So this was a very long-winded answer to tell you that I have my tactics, but they are neither of theirs.
Sure, absolutely. If I had to classify you, I would say you're more of an Eve than a Jacob, it sounds like.
Yes. Yes. My stimming techniques have a lot to do with, yeah, a secondary stimuli that helps me
Mhm.
put some of the energy to it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, external. I probably am also more of an Eve. I used to listen to music in college while studying, and now I was listening to some music last night while trying to read, and I went off in the music world instead of into the book world, and so I can't really do that anymore. Um, but, like, I can, accept and receive a lot of external stimuli and stay focused. I just, like I need to my brain needs breaks. I need to change what I'm doing, or I need to prioritize and let the priorities trickle down. Um, I've always described my brain as a lot like the graphics in the Stranger Than Fiction movie, like the ticker tape of like how things happen. That's how I think my brain works visually. So uh, I feel comfort when I have the to-do list and the ticker tape, and I know my path forward. And I also like my winter jacket pockets are just full of trinkets, and I just like play with them all the time. So I'm a very kinetic person. So I let the kinetic bits of that take my excess stress energy. I imbibe all my little doodads and coins and whatever's that I've picked up, stones, whatever. I'm a little boy with rocks in his pocket. That's what that is.
That's
So
that makes perfect sense. I'm
yeah,
trying not to play. I have a little fidget cube that sits with me, but it makes clicky noises, so I try not to play with it while we're recording. I do, however,
absolutely.
when my microphone isn't on. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna thank you, by the way,
Yep.
for sharing
Mm,
your
you
techniques.
thank you for sharing yours. Had no idea about the notepads. That's awesome.
Yeah, there are notepads everywhere, and sometimes I write in the middle of the night in the dark, and so then, like, the note is written
And you're
completely
like,
off kilter.
what does that say?
Mostly, I am impressed at how well I can write in total darkness without looking at the page. It's not bad, but this is why you will get, ideas from me early in the morning because that's when I've collected all the notes, and I'm like, "Oh,
Got it.
these are for
Yeah.
episode ideas," and they go to you.
Right.
So that's
Excellent.
that's how that
Excellent.
happens. This is how my brain happens. Um, getting us back on track for Eve,
Yeah.
I'm gonna swerve
Yeah.
us back into Eve Brown for a bit
Please.
longer. So there
Yeah.
are two characters that get at so Mont or Montrose, that's his last name, is
Mhm.
Jacob's best friend. And we are
Mhm.
introduced to Mont right away, and he's great. I love him a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are very in the second act, midway through the book, more than midway through the book. We're introduced to two more people, Tessa and Alex, who are Montrose's twin sisters.
Mhm.
Um, so they're twins to each other. They're not twins to him. He is older than
Right.
them. Um,
Trope alert, there are twins.
yeah, I mean, they're not love interest twins, but trope alert, there
Right.
are twins.
Yeah.
Um, so they come barging into Eve's life and they take her out to the bar and they hang out with her
Mhm.
and they they are kind of a present from Jake, not in a weird human trafficking way, but he asks them if they could hang out with her because he wants her to have a good time, but he knows that he is not good in social situations. So instead, he
Mhm.
asks the people in his life who are good at social situations to take her on as a friend, not as a project, as a friend. It never felt
Friend date.
projecty. Friend date,
Yeah.
exactly. They do it.
Mhm.
They come in for a friend date. How? So this is when she's out with them. When Eva's out with them, she has this moment of realization that up until that moment, her only genuine friends have been her sisters, and she does not
Mhm.
have any adult friends whom she's not related to. How important, like, let's talk about adult friendship, because
Great.
I have a super hard time. I have a very hard time making adult friends because I feel
Mhm.
like all of my weirdness pours out all at once, and then and that's an immediate turn off. And so
Nah. Nah.
and you are an adult friend in my life. I mean, we've been
True.
friends for a long
True.
time now, so we've been adults for a
But
long
we
time now.
yeah, we started when we were adults, so this has been an exclusively adult friendship.
Yes.
Um, yeah, uh, I think also feel like a weirdo, so your weirdoisms never, like, were a flag for me because I was like, "Oh, I'm way weirder than she is, jeez." Um, in regards to, Tessa and Alex, what I I find important is that it's not I don't find the adult part to be the important part of the friendships she forges with them. It's the female slash of like black women friendships because up until this point she left her family and she has spent 90% of her time with a white man, Jacob. And so this is an opportunity for her to have community with other Black women. And I think that is more important as a in a way of normalizing relationships, and creating community for her. For this to feel like a home, she needs to have a community outside of just one person. So, that was more important. I was really nervous in that moment because 'cause I'm like, if she is on the spectrum, sometimes, like, social interactions, going to a bar, going to a loud place can be triggering, and I was really nervous for that encounter, but that's not, the kind of autism that she has. She very much enjoyed herself and had a great time, and it was a delightful experience, and those women are also delightful. So,
Yes, in case anyone is
yeah.
listening who can make this happen, I need an Alex book a lot. I need a Tessa book too. She's fun,
Mm,
but of the two twins, it was like, tell me
mm.
everything about this car mechanic, Alex. I
Yes.
want to know
She she's
everything.
also the one with the, like, the short buzz.
Yeah,
I
with
th yeah,
yeah.
who did I think of when she, was it, Grace what's her name? Oh, never mind, ignore me. Yeah, so, cool, yes, agree, agree, agree. Um, so, our minisodes, the episode last week and the episodes coming forward for a few weeks are gonna be about tropes, and we're talking about it we take a trope every week, so I wanted to talk about the tropes that we've already started to talk about, so the tropes from Eve Brown, opposites attract, and forced proximity, what others were there, and did you think they worked?
So I love this Grump Sunshine, which is the opposite. So Grump Sunshine and opposites attract are actually two different tropes. So
Oh,
there,
I think of
because
them as the same trope.
me too, but I think Grump Sunshine is one of the ways they can be opposite.
Mm,
I love the Grump Sunshine thing. I love that he is
yeah.
so grouchy and she gives no shits about that. It is It is great. And then anytime that
Mhm.
she gets a smile out of him, we're like, I cheer
Right.
for her because like, yay,
Achievements.
yes, achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
So that worked for me very well. Their forced proximity was a plot device that required Eve to stay, and it was also an indicator
Mhm.
of how much she needs to take care of people. Right? She stays
Mhm.
partially because she feels responsible, but partially because she doesn't think that with a broken arm he can do the job, and so she takes care of him. She makes him a blanket cocoon at one point because she knows that's how he comforts himself, how
Yeah.
like physically that's one of his comforts. And so she does that
Mhm.
for him. Not out of obligation and also not out of a love connection just yet, but because she needs to care for him. So that forced proximity
Yeah.
worked for me. There is technically only one bed, technically, though
Eh,
there is a couch that she sleeps on.
it's a
Um,
fold-out
it's a
couch.
fold-out couch,
That's a
so it's not
bed. That's a bed.
really. I know, I was trying to think of what other tropes are in this
Mm.
book, and
Mhm.
it's sort of like it for me, I couldn't really figure out any of the other really self-evident tropes. Talia Hibbert is also really
Mhm.
great at subverting tropes, so
Yeah.
maybe they were there and hidden so well that I did not notice
Yeah.
them, and that is
I
fine as
I mean,
well.
like, removal from comforting space, like leaving home journey. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know, is
mean,
that a trope?
running away or
Running
like
away.
going on a
Mhm.
self-discovery journey that is also an actual physical journey. Yeah, I can see that.
Mhm. Yeah. I agree. I like yeah, Talia Hibbert always does a good job not beating us over the head with the all of the tropes. The forced proximity felt natural. They tried to there's a moment where uh Jacob tries to get her a room at his aunt's house and they're like, "Wait, that's not going to work."
I just thought of another
Yes.
one.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
workplace romance and forbidden
Yeah,
romance because
right.
they
Yeah.
try not to continue their romantic relationship because it would be inappropriate from a
Mhm.
employer
Mhm.
employee standpoint. So there is
Yeah.
one more.
Yeah. Um yes, and I even wrote down it wasn't enemies to lovers, it's got off on the wrong footers to lovers.
Yes.
So that was tolerable
Bad
to me.
first impressions.
Bad first impression. Yeah. A meet ugly, is that what that's called?
It should be. It should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, 2 thumbs up in the tropes department for me. Okay, we're going to take an intermission right here. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book.
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world.
And we're back.
Hello! Welcome back. We are still talking about Actor Age Eve Brown, the third Talia Hibbert Brown sister book. I like just the best, most delightful, cozy. This book wrapped me up in a blanket and made me feel safe. So I'm here for
Aww.
it. I also on the break pulled out my one of the fidget coins I keep on my desk. So now we're cooking with fire.
Now we're fidgeting with fire. Very good.
Now we're
Sorry.
fidgeting with direction. Exactly. So we're going to talk about our favorite, most compelling moment, our hot take, and did this book make us want to get naked?
Yes. Okay. So, uh, compelling moment.
Yeah.
I have so many. I realized I
Yeah.
wrote
Yeah.
one into our script, but I have so many.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah.
sort of want to go back to talking about his cocoon. I thought that this is one of the first books that I've read. I maybe can name one more where people who have sensory needs that pertain to their neurodivergence, those sensory needs are actually discussed.
Mhm.
I think I've only read it once before,
Yeah.
and it was in Helen Hong. In the Braid
Mhm.
test, he talks about his need for a hard touch instead of a light touch, and it's the same for Jacob. He tells Eve that he needs a firm touch when she's touching
Yeah,
him. That
was there some discussion in um what oh, the Rosie Project?
Oh, yes, maybe also. So then
I
two
can't
others.
remember. Right.
Maybe the yes, I also cannot remember. I remember it very clearly in the Bright Test because when I read it here in Eve
Mhm.
Brown, I immediately noticed that it is being acknowledged, which is fantastic and
Mhm.
wonderful. But
Yeah.
he
Agreed.
doesn't so he tells her how he prefers to be touched. He doesn't necessarily give her any sort of explanation as to why that is the way it is, but reading it,
Mhm.
I knew that it correlated to how his brain processes touch and
Right.
that
It was
like
very
just yeah.
it was a very normalized moment because she's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay."
Yeah,
And then we
exactly.
moved on.
Precisely.
It was
But
beautiful.
I very much appreciated that that was present and exactly that it wasn't made into a big deal. It was just the way that he needed the world to be and she accommodated it
Mhm.
without really any issue. So that
Yeah.
his bed cocoon thing again, it's also about sensory needs and I appreciated that it was
Mhm.
present. And then okay, so this moment was extremely confusing for me emotionally, which is I think why it's my favorite. So
Sure.
she comes in from her friend date with Tessa and Alex and while she's at the bar, she decides that despite the fact that their sexual relationship may be inappropriate for their work relationship, that so Eve decides for herself that she's going to pursue Jacob, and if he says no, then he says no. Like she gets really comfortable with this idea. So she comes into his office and she sits down across from him and puts her legs up on the table and spreads her legs to display the entirety of her naked vagina for him. And then
Mhm.
they proceed to have a fairly serious conversation for
Yes.
a
Yes.
while. And like the scene
Yes.
starts on a pretty ramped up like sexual beat. And so it's like, okay, this is gonna
Mhm.
be fun. And then she sits down and the conversation gets pretty serious. And I was like, I'm so confused right now.
Are we
Am I
still looking at her vagina?
right? Are we hot? Are we serious? No, I have to be both on fire and serious at the same time. This is a
Mhm.
lot for me to process, but the two of them
Right.
are doing a bang up job. It
Heyo.
does exactly. That conversation is followed by a sex scene that I absolutely needed a diagram for because I have
Mhm.
no idea how they managed it. But that entire conversation was so charged with such
Mhm.
new energy that is
Mhm.
really not present in a lot of other books. So that to me is the favorite moment because it's like, wait, what am I supposed to be feeling right now?
Yeah, I liked it a lot because it was a moment where I was like, "I don't think I could ever do that. That's so bold," and, like, it was very powerful to read, as powerful as it probably was for Eve to do, and probably pretty difficult for him to, ignore slash have this conversation during. Anyway, it was great. I also love it. It was probably my favorite moment as well, but I came up with a secondary moment just so we could talk about it, which is, the moment when, Jacob wakes up in the middle of the night because he hears ducks, and the ducks are his nemesis. Fuck ducks, hashtag fuck ducks is real. And so he goes out to the pond in the middle of the night to scare off these ducks, and Eve is there feeding them bread because they are opposites, of course. and they have this like lovely conversation in the middle of the night, and this is when he starts to like fall for her. I think he notices like just how beautiful she is, silvered in the moonlight, I think is almost a direct quote. And then she falls in because she's Eve Brown, and he jumps in to rescue her because he's Jacob. And so it they Talia Hibbert does a great job of situational awkwardness plus conversation equals
Yes.
great scene.
Yes.
So
Agreed. Agreed. That scene is very good because yeah, I think it like brings them closer together while still keeping them on opposite ends from each other.
right. I think it's also like one of those first physical contact because he like bodily lifts her out of the pond. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
It's
hot
almost
take.
like a reverse well, sorry, it's almost
Sorry,
like
go
a
ahead.
reverse, like, Mr. Darcy coming out of the lake moment, too.
It's sort of both. It's
It's
sort of
sort of
both because
yeah,
like he runs out there shirtless and then he dips in the lake and he comes out
yeah,
of the lake dripping and she gets really excited about that. But what she's forgotten is that she's also out of the lake and dripping and therefore
yeah.
very exposed. And I sort of
Sure.
love that they were both like drooling over the other one in a
Mhm.
wet t-shirt contest for a second, and then they both realize
Yeah,
that there is muck on both of them, that there is pond
yeah.
scum
It's
on both of them,
pond goo. Yeah.
and they have like this sensory freak out and a lack of
Freak
comfort
yeah, yeah,
about goo.
yeah. Ponds are kind of disgusting, can confirm.
All right, hot take on the
Hot
book
takes,
as
yeah.
a whole. Yay, nay, where are you at?
Yes. Oh, love, love. Every Brown Sister book gets better and better, so it makes sense that number 3 is A+. plus.
Yes. I this might be my favorite Brown sister book, though I love Danny. I
Uh-huh.
like this might be my favorite book. Like I feel like Danny and Zaph in Danny Brown's book, I those they are a great pair and there was some really cool situational stuff with them. This as the
Mhm.
entire like as the arc of the book
Mhm. Mhm.
was yeah, this might have taken first
Yeah.
place in the Brown sisters books.
You've also read some of Talia Hibbert's older stuff, which I haven't
Yes.
read. Is this your new favorite Talia Hibbert book?
It might be Work for It, which is
Mm.
her gay male story was also phenomenal and holds like a
Mm.
special place of like it's not an honorable mention, it's better than that, but I really liked Work for It. This might be my favorite Talia Hibbert. Yes. It's possible.
Okay. Yeah. You've heard it here first, world.
There we go. Okay, did this book make you wanna get naked?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm still considering a spread eagle bear vag situation, but I'm gonna have to work up some confidence for it. But yes, it definitely so hugged me in a blanket, but also the sex scenes were sexy. And I know you have a favorite one, so I'm gonna let you tell your favorite one. Did it make you want to get naked?
Yes. Yes. I feel like all Talia Hibberts make me want to get naked, which is a plus, a
Mhm.
joy. Really, I
Yeah,
should just read
yeah.
them naked. Just save me the trouble of getting
Yeah,
undressed.
to have
So
to put the book down
right,
to
because then I have to
enjoy
put the book
yourself.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so there is this moment that caught me completely off guard, and this book had a lot of moments that caught me off guard.
Mhm,
This is a sexual moment that caught me off guard. So their first sexual encounter starts because Jacob accidentally sits on her dildo. I don't like he's in a pile of blankets on her pull-out couch and finds the dildo. If you have I don't know if you've heard this minisode yet, but there's a minisode in which I ask all of you to please wash and then put away your sex toys. Don't leave them
yes.
in your beds or couches. But that aside, So he finds her purple, sparkly 12-inch dildo, and then instead of like it being an awkward, it turns into a really sexualized moment in the best way possible. They both consent to it. And then at some point he licks it so that he can penetrate her with it. And very few mentions of men who are not bisexual or gay who lick penises. And
Yes,
I am
phallic objects.
surprisingly
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, I mean, it shows a confidence or a security
Yeah,
that it's a bucking of the, like, male stereotype. Like, this
right,
is what a hetero
exactly.
male is like. Yeah, it's
And so
delightful.
the image of him between her legs, like
Mhm.
licking this dick was just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is a thing."
Yeah, this is a
Okay.
hot thing. Yeah.
Let's keep
Okay.
reading this
Yeah.
scene.
Yep.
So,
Uh-huh. More, please. You touched on something that I also took note on was this book had extremely sexy verbal consent. Like,
yes.
they sometimes verbal consent can be very clunky. Not in this book. It was choice.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I also have one more quote that I guffawed. I out loud laughed so hard. They were talking about Eve's grandmother, who is in a relationship with a woman, and she's explaining that she lives with her grandmother and her grandmother's partner, and he refers to her home as an elderly lesbian palace, and that was just hilarious to me. That moment made me laugh so hard. That was
So
some great writing there.
yes. So there you go. Pick up this book if you want great
Oh
writing
my gosh.
moments.
Do
Pick
God,
pick up
do
this
it.
book
Please
if
do
you
it.
need to know where the purple dildo goes. And pick up this book for a variety of other
Yeah.
needs that
Um,
it would fulfill.
come to come tell us about your stimming tricks and how your brain works. I find all that incredibly interesting. So, look forward to hearing from you. We don't know yet what our next episode is going to be about. We're still deciding. So, come be surprised with us.
Yes.
So, are you, dear audience human, going to pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.